In March 1974, on a small island in the Philippines, one of the most extraordinary chapters of World War II finally came to an end nearly 30 years after the war itself. A Japanese soldier named Hiroo Onoda surrendered his sword, his still-functioning Arisaka rifle, and 500 rounds of ammunition. He had been fighting a war that had ended in 1945. This is the incredible story of the soldier who refused to believe World War II was over. Born in 1922 in Wakayama Prefecture, Japan, Hiroo Onoda was the son of a samurai-turned-teacher. At 18, he left home to join a branch of the Japanese Army that specialized in guerrilla warfare. Little did he know that this training would shape the next 3 decades of his life. In December 1944, at the age of 22, Lieutenant Onoda received orders that would change his life forever. He was to be sent to Lubang Island in the Philippines. His orders were simple yet absolute: do whatever it takes to prevent enemy forces from taking the island, never surrender, and never take your own life. Just before he left for his mission, his commanding officer, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, told him something that would echo in his mind for decades. It may take 3 years, it may take 5, but whatever happens, we'll come back for you. When Onoda arrived on Lubang, he joined a small group of Japanese soldiers already stationed there. But within months, American forces invaded the island. Most of the Japanese defenders were either killed or surrendered, but not Onoda. Along with 3 other soldiers, Yuichi Ikatsu, Shoichi Shimada, and Kinshichi Kazuka, he retreated into the mountains. This is where most war stories would end, but for Onoda, it was just the beginning. The 4 men survived by stealing food from local farmers and occasionally killing their cattle for meat. They lived in makeshift camps in the jungle, moving regularly to avoid detection. They continued to carry out guerrilla attacks, believing they were still fighting World War II. In 1945, they found a leaflet saying, "The war ended on August 15th. Come down from the mountains." But Onoda and his men dismissed it as enemy propaganda. More leaflets followed. The men found newspapers reporting Japan's surrender. They heard search parties using loudspeakers to tell them the war was over. But to these soldiers, trained in guerrilla warfare and counterintelligence, everything looked like an elaborate American trick. Years passed. In 1950, Yuichi Ikatsu surrendered after living in the mountains for 5 years. He tried to convince his former comrades that the war was really over, but they believed he had been brainwashed. In 1954, Shimada was killed in a shootout with local police. In 1972, Kazuka was killed by Filipino police while burning rice that had been collected by farmers, leaving Onoda alone. For 29 years, Onoda continued his one-man war. He survived on bananas, coconuts, and stolen rice. He kept his uniform pristine, regularly washing it and mending it with coconut fiber. He kept his rifle clean and operational, saving ammunition for what he believed would be crucial battles. During his time in the jungle, search parties tried to find him. His family dropped letters and photos. The Japanese government even dropped letters from his former commanding officers. But Onoda had been trained to believe that no military order could be trusted if delivered by the enemy. He was waiting for one specific thing: his commanding officer to personally order him to stand down. Finally, in 1974, something extraordinary happened. A young Japanese college dropout named Norio Suzuki decided to look for Onoda. While many had tried and failed to find him, Suzuki succeeded where everyone else had failed. He found Onoda in the jungle and befriended him. But even then, Onoda refused to surrender. He told Suzuki he was waiting for orders. So Suzuki returned to Japan and managed to track down Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, Onoda's former commanding officer, who had given him his orders 29 years earlier. Taniguchi, now a bookstore owner, agreed to travel to Lubang. On March 9, 1974, wearing his old military uniform, Major Taniguchi met Onoda in the jungle and gave him his final orders. In accordance with the Imperial Command, the 14th Area Army has ceased all combat activity. Lieutenant Onoda, your war is over. Only then did Onoda lay down his rifle. He emerged from the jungle wearing his Imperial Army uniform, cap and sword, with his rifle still in perfect condition. His first words to the Philippine government were, "I am sorry for all the trouble I have caused." The world Onoda returned to was unrecognizable from the one he had left. Japan had transformed from a militaristic empire to a peaceful economic powerhouse. Television, jet planes, and nuclear weapons had all become reality. His parents, who had believed him dead since 1945, were now elderly. Onoda found it difficult to adapt to modern Japan. He wrote in his memoir, "I don't understand all the attention. I was just doing my duty as a soldier. We were taught that life without honor is not worth living." The story doesn't end there, though. After returning to Japan, Onoda found himself uncomfortable with the materialism and modernization of Japanese society. In 1975, he moved to Brazil to become a cattle rancher. He later returned to Japan and established a survival school for young people, teaching them about living in harmony with nature. What makes Onoda's story so fascinating isn't just its extraordinary length or circumstances. It's what it tells us about loyalty, duty, and the power of belief. For 29 years, he held onto a reality that existed only in his mind, dismissing all evidence that contradicted it. His story raises profound questions about the nature of truth and how our beliefs can shape our reality. Hiroo Onoda passed away in 2014 at the age of 91, but his incredible story lives on. It serves as a reminder of the lasting impact of war, the power of indoctrination, and the extraordinary lengths humans will go to fulfill what they believe is their duty. Perhaps most importantly, it shows us how perception shapes reality. While the world had moved on from World War II, in Onoda's mind, he was still fighting for his emperor, still defending his position, still waiting for orders that took 29 years to arrive. His story stands as one of the most remarkable tales of loyalty, determination, and survival in modern history. It reminds us that sometimes the most extraordinary stories are not about grand battles or heroic charges, but about the quiet, relentless dedication of a single person who refused to believe the war was over. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe. Also, feel free to watch my other videos if you haven't yet. I'll see you next time.